I don't know why, but I don't do the start thing. I don't know. I hate this. I hate the starting thing. So like every time I have to mention it, just to start. But what episode is this? I have no idea. I think
It was 6.
All right, welcome to season 2, episode 6 of the Audio Discourse podcast. I am very glad to have somebody whose background is maybe not just as weeb, but just remotely as weeaboo as I am. And we'll welcome here. Join with me is Kekforce from Kekforce.com.
Netforce from headphones.com.
Not from netforce.com. Netphones.com.
Or otherwise known as Alan from headphones.com.
Do you not go by netforce anymore?
I mean, I've been going by Alan from headphones.com for basically since I started, but my screen name's netforce, and you'll probably see me all over Discourse or on Headfi or all over the place. But yeah, that's me.
So first question. You need to show people what shirt you're wearing.
Yeah.
That is a great shirt. That is a great shirt.
Yeah. Big FGO fan, as probably people that know about FGO could kind of tell. But yeah.
So have you spent more money on FGO than you do on headphones?
No. Definitely have spent more on headphones over the years. But I've also been in headphones for much longer, and it's also my job, right? So it's a lot easier for me to spend on headphones.
Yeah, but like I feel like if it's your job, you really shouldn't spend any money on it, right?
It's one of those things that I started out in 2013, going to Headfi, going to events, and over the years just started like gradually building up. But at the same time, I didn't start off working in the audio industry in 2013, but I was working at like manga at the time. But I started as a hobbyist, and I've kind of still enjoy headphones enough that I'll get my own stuff every now and then. But definitely a rabbit hole.
I feel like you've been in the industry for so long. I mean, like you've been in a hobby for so long, and it actually became your job, and you're still not super jaded about like the hobby is honestly something like very impressive. Like it's been like what, the better half of like 9 years that you just right.
Mm-hmm. I've been in this for a while, so I will say there are probably times where just like last year there really wasn't very many like big new flagship headphones kind of announced, right? So last year it was kind of boring, right? There wasn't very much going on in the headphone space. Maybe, there were a lot of new IEMs, but, there was always the difficulty in trying IEMs, right? But yeah, this year has been really fun. The month prior to Can Jam was kind of insane with all the new flagship stuff coming announced, the Stealth, Elite, and LCD5 right before even the show, right? So
Right.
it's been, recharging the battery a little recently.
So for people who don't know, like, or you missed the part that it's Alan from headphones.com. I didn't know you as Alan from headphones.com. I know you as Alan's netforce from TSAV, which is so before I like say anything further, I have never bought anything from headphones.com before. But I have bought something from you while you still worked at your old job.
Yeah.
So that's our relationship there. I bought a Con Cube from you when you still work at TSAV. So how do I get that thing serviced now if it's broken? Do I message you or do you message TSAV?
Well, for Astle and Kern warranty stuff, you can actually go directly to Astle and Kern, show them the receipt, tell them the symptoms, and It's through their contact page, and they'll help you out
That
on
was
all
a
that.
joke. I don't think my
Yeah.
AK would be broken. Then I will make a big deal out of it on Reddit. I'm sure I'll get free warranty by then.
Okay.
um so like I like how you brought up like
Mhm.
CanJam, and like I think and you've been to CanJam before with TSAV, right? Like a few times. Like how many times have you been to CanJam for TSAV?
Um, so I started at the source AV. It
That stand for the Source Adult Video.
No. The source audio video.
What? That is
Yes.
not what I was told.
Yeah, so I started September 2017.
Okay, that sounds like an
So I
intern.
did actually even prior to that, like even before I worked at the source, I was working at Questyle, and we did do CanJam SoCal with the source at the time, and then later on I joined the source.
So
But yeah, I've done a lot of CanJams.
can
I've
you
done
count how many
RMM.
times you went to CanJam SoCal?
Um,
Like just as like a person or as a hobbyist or as an industry person, like just add it all up. Can you even count?
I think the first CanJam was 2014 or 2015.
Okay, and you went every other year after that, right? Just the SoCal.
I've been going to CanJam SoCal every
Yeah,
year just
because you're a
because I'm
West
all
Coast boy,
yeah, I'm
right?
West Coast.
Um,
Been to RMAF twice. Been to CanJam New York once. Yeah, I've been to a lot of CanJams, and also just I've been to a lot of events in general. Yeah, and worked a lot of events.
it is it more fun going as a well? I mean, like I guess you can't, cause like you're kind of stuck in your own booth if you go as a industry person, right?
Yeah, so like this year at CanJam SoCal, even though there was a lot of new cool products like LCD5, Elite, Stealth, etc., I didn't hear any of them. I was in our booth the entire time, or just long enough to take a break to get lunch or go to the bathroom or say hi to a friend at a booth who was also completely slammed and just didn't have, a space for me to listen to, right? So for me, the difference going as an attendee, right? Because I've been at this so long. I've known a lot of people in the industry now, know a lot of people behind the booth, or, there might be new products that might be interesting. Um, but when these events are like 2 days, right? You can pretty much see everything pretty fast. So it's just like, oh yeah, what was at the Can Jam at, blah 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 in April, and now it's July, and it's a lot of the same stuff, right? So, the aspect I really enjoy from Can Jams are also just interacting with people, like, showing them the gear, giving demos, or just even talking to people, right? I enjoy that part.
I hate people. I like I hate talking to random people that I don't know, and I probably hate. That's why only talk to people I like. But not okay. So here's a question I want to ask.
Mhm.
So like now that is your job and you obviously like it. Um, uh, would you still go to Can Jam as an attendee, or like if you would have the choice to either take the day off or go to Can Jam, would you take the day off? Like let's say like if like let's say pay isn't a thing. Like you wouldn't get paid regardless. Would you take the day off or would you go to Can Jam?
I'd still go to a Can Jam just because, being in this hobby for so many years, I've developed so many different friends that are also going as attendees, right? So I would also just want to go and just, hang out with them, bounce ideas. Like, oh, I hear the same headphone and I'm hearing this and you're hearing that. We can just talk about that really quickly, right? So I would still go as an attendee, even if I wasn't showing.
Oh, okay. I mean, like I was gonna go to I was actually in the area during like Can Jam, and I could have just
Mhm.
pop in for like a day, and I was like, eh.
Yeah.
I'm like, do I want to drive from LA to Irvine and like come back at the end of the day? I'm like, no, that traffic is not worth it.
Yeah, it's I've definitely done like can jams where I'd have to drive home every day, and that
Okay.
would like that sucked.
Right.
Like driving like 50 miles there, 50 miles back, and like you're dead tired, but you still need to drive anyway because whatever. But this year got the hotel, stayed there, just like slept, overslept one day, but it's so much more convenient when you've planned around staying at the venue,
Right.
you know, doing listening sessions, with friends or whatnot on your own time afterwards, or just, hanging out and just like, chilling out at the bar with friends.
I feel like I'm envious of you in a way that you actually enjoy your job. And like you would do it like on your spare time. Cause like if my job was, rush at TSAV, first of all, I would never get hired at TSAV because I'm not a very good salesman. Um like I wouldn't like touch any of this stuff outside of work because I feel like there should be this need like a distinct separation between work and like real life, so to speak.
Yeah, I get it. Late last year, I was, because there wasn't really much going on. And, the holidays were the holidays. So that's always the busiest time of year for retailers. But that was like where I was kind of really dissociated with a lot of stuff going in the hobby. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do some more, kind of passion projects, PC stuff, build a keyboard or whatnot, right? It's I think for me, I kind of take like small, like personal breaks throughout where I'll just like get a new hobby and just like get really into it. But you can only build so many computers. You can only build so many keyboards,
You mean
right?
you catch up on the seasonal animes you haven't been watching?
Um, I've been kind of a little bored with anime lately,
Wow,
to be
that's
truthful.
disappointing. Well, that goes about like an hour and a half of my podcast. So, well, okay, welcome. Thank you for watching the episode 6 of Audio Discourse podcast. I think that's what we have to talk about this week. See you guys next week. Bye. I think that will be the end of.
Yeah. No, it's just
Um,
like there's a lot of anime out right now.
okay, I'm not forcing you to talk. I'm just kidding. We're not
Yeah,
talking about
yeah.
anime.
There's a lot of anime right now, but also I like just watching like VTuber stuff lately, right? So it's just there's only so many hours in the day that one can spend on watching whatever. So
Um,
yeah,
okay, back to audio, which is somehow this is what the podcast is about, right? As
yeah.
much as I want to talk about how great the last Among Us Ian collab is, that's probably for not for today. Um, so like how was like I think you told me in private like how like did you like so like this is the first time like so this like most recent Can Jam SoCal is like the most recent Can Jam that like headphones.com had a booth in, right? If I remember correctly.
This was actually our first booth,
Right.
period.
Right.
The Taryn, Andrew,
Mm-hmm.
they've gone to other can jams before, but not an exhibitor.
Right.
So this Hand Jam SoCal in September 2021 was the first Can Jam since Can Jam New York 2020 February. So it's been like a year and a half. There's been so many like brands, I want to say, that were working on a flagship project or were planning stuff to release for a Can Jam or build the hype around an event. But because there was COVID, right, they didn't want to just like, oh yeah, here's our new product, just like randomly, right? They wanted to do it around an event. So like a few months prior, we were just talking about, let's test the waters. Let's see how going and exhibiting for our first Can Jam goes, right? Um, we were definitely enjoying the game a lot later than a lot of people had already announced, right? Um, you know, for me at the Source AV, like last year, right? We are already assuming by January, February, and making plans for Can Jam SoCal in June 2020, right? Right before COVID hit and everything got postponed or canceled. But we were making a lot of plans like 6 months out. And for us deciding in like June, July, like let's do Can Jam in 2 months, I was like, oh my god, right? Because
Right.
there's so many logistics behind it. There's so many things to organize on that aspect, and we pulled it off again. Right? We brought 8 people in for it. We had a great time. We showed off a lot of new stuff, and one of the like the benefits for like a vendor for a can jam is, hey, you have a product that you want, you know, dealers to sell, and this is the first time we're talking, like let's keep talking, right? And that's how we bring in new products, realistically speaking.
Um, I mean, like, so like I know, like, I think that headphones.com has always been a sponsor of Can Jam, but they never really went as an exhibitor, which was kind of like a weird thing because
I think it like I think one of the reasons we actually decided to do Can Jam this year was did join, right?
right.
Because I had plenty of experience working at the Source AV for exhibiting at Can Jams, working at Questel, doing different events and Can Jams as well. But even prior to that, when I was working in the manga industry, I did work anime cons, anime expo, all these different things. So I have plenty of experience in the convention realm or event organizing. So one of the things that I think it was Andy Regan from Dan Clark Audio, like we were like on the setup day, we were finding, oh, we brought the wrong adapters for the iPads or doing this or that, and then we just like, oh, we gotta make like last minute trips to like the Apple store, and Andy was like, yeah, from what I've learned from being in the industry for like 30 plus years is you have a backup, and then you have a backup, and then you have a backup, right? It's things, accidents happen, there's always these small things, but at least it's not like a lot of small things. It's just like one small thing that you get wrong that you correct for the next event, right?
I mean, like, it. So like to ask, so you told me that most likely you guys are not going to New York.
I don't think it's something that we've like put anything like down pen to paper. Um, I think there's a lot of interest for us to go again. One of the probably biggest drawbacks for us doing Can Jam New York this time, like for me being in SoCal, right?
Right.
And then us doing Can Jam SoCal, it was easy for me to kind of plan logistics. I have a car. Grover Neville, one of our reviewers, he's also based here in like LA, right? So we had 2 people on the ground. So that was, something that eased it. But for like New York, we don't really have anybody on the East Coast, or it's just going to be a lot more planning ahead of time for that. And also, Can Jam SoCal is a bigger event
Oh yeah, definitely.
space than New York. Like New York is a fairly small room in comparison to Can Jam SoCal, which was a much bigger room. So, do we go and adjust for that? Do we figure out like, instead of doing like what we did this year for Can Jam SoCal, doing 3 tables, do we do like 2 tables and just like slim down the amount of gear, or how should we do it? Should we get a room, et cetera, et cetera? There's a lot of like things to figure out because, putting on a Can Jam is expensive as well, right? Because we got the people aspect, you got the gear aspect. You take time out of your actual schedule to do it, but it's, for us it's worth it, right? To go exhibit, or for us just to go to attend, right? Just to make some connections there.
Yeah, you gotta break into other people's home turf by going to New York. Which whose audio store, which I will not mention here. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, and the other thing is that I not to harp on Irvine's a great city, but just honestly too far away from LA. Like if Can Jam was in LA, I would have gone. because I was in LA at that time. But like I think like New York is definitely a better place to do other stuff if you're just like got out of Can Jam and have other stuff to do. But like you're not gonna drive like 30 miles to LA and just do stuff in LA. I don't think that's something that the Canadians would have done. Obviously most of the headphones.com people are up north. I think like New York would be like a better like tourism thing. Like they would probably stay a little bit longer just staying out in New York or something. I don't know if they have ever been.
So, like a little bit of history for Can Jam SoCal, in particular. And now that I'm remembering it,
Because it was in Orange County right before, right? I remember.
so in 2015 and 2016, it was in Orange County, and then 2017, 2018, it was in LA by the Staples Centers at LA Live.
Oh wow. Okay.
It-
That's
yeah,
great.
so-
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it was there. And then in 2019 and for 2020, it was planned to be in the Irvine location. So 2019 was the same location as where it was held this year, right? Um, I want to say, like, as a vendor, having worked at all those locations or just going to all those locations, I won't, even though like the LA Live one was closer to me, I actually prefer the Orange County ones because when it was like in downtown LA,
Oh yeah, that's awful.
like one, the traffic was just a nightmare. Parking, like I remember running into Zach from ZMF and he was like, he had a rental car, he just drove in. And then he was like, "Oh, did you guys also just pay like $45 for like valet parking?" And it's like, "Oh no, we parked just across the street for like $10 for the day." Right? It's just there's so many like different like traps like that, just that gets you to spend money, and it's just like it was such like a nightmare in that perspective. And then like the venue itself, it was held at the Marriott in LA Live, so they had the entrance to the hotel where to get to the Can Jam actual space, you had to go up 2 escalators. You see like a few rooms that were like, oh, there's like Kimber, there's like the Woo, there's the HE1 from Sennheiser, but then you're supposed to walk down a long hallway, go down 2 other escalators, and then you're at the Can Jam exhibitor space. And it's just like it's such a weird, confusing kind of a layout. But also, like in that exhibitor space, it was massive. It was probably the biggest Can Jam I've been to. But as a result, because it was so big, like even if it was the same amount of people, it was just spread out more, right?
Well, isn't
'Cause
that
there's
like
more.
better though? Like you don't want to like have like crowded
It's
space.
like
Better for demoing stuff, like not so many people bumping shoulder to shoulder. I that's what I feel like. I never went to a Can Jam because I
Are you back?
Yep, I'm back.
Oh, okay.
Whoa.
Is the podcast back?
We're live again. Wow, that is rare. Right, what
Yeah.
are we doing? So oh shit. I blame my Arizona internet, so if it cuts out again, that's 100% on me. This is why Anthony should just do all the recordings. Just kidding. So where were we at? Where did I lose you at?
I think we were talking about with Can Jam it being busy versus open versus quiet, all these different things.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll say kind of as attendee perspective, right? It is hard to listen critically at like a Can Jam, right? With all the people talking, with the other people also listening, right? So you would want it to be, less people, more quiet. But as an exhibitor, right? If I'm spending like thousands of dollars to show, I want it to be busy. I want it, to talk to people to make these different kind of sales. So I prefer it as a vendor to be busier, right? So that's always going to be like a trade off when it does come to these different kind of shows. Like when it comes to like those big 2 channel shows, when it comes to like RMAF, the show, blah 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 blah. Like those are a lot easier because those are held in a hotel room, right?
Right.
They have a setup of a speaker of whatever gear that you're just listening to and you're localized in your room, right? You're probably going to get a lot less people than you would at like a can jam, but you know, it's a different market, right? It's
Right.
different. So, it's always probably going to be hard to like, you know, from a can jam to get like a critical review whatever, but you can get an impression. Like the contrast to be going to a retail store, like a dealer, doing like a private demo or whatnot, where it's completely quiet, you have the room to yourself, and you can go and bring in your own gear, maybe if like the dealer allows you to do that, right? And just listening critically on that end and then making the purchase there, right? There's all these different ways you can do it. Um, the issue is there's just not many of those actual retail locations to do it, right?
What do you
Um,
mean you want your customers to listen to the hi-fi Minsus bar in perfect condition and they realize it's actually a really shitty headphone?
um, yeah, that's I want to say probably one of the reasons, or one of the big reasons that like headphones.com, we do have our 365-day return policy,
Oh,
right?
good.
Ooh.
Good. Wow, that was like perfect marketing. I think this is why they hired you.
Yeah,
That was a perfect.
yeah. Just because, like, you know, when it comes to these big headphones, right? If you're not in a location where you can go to a can jam, where you can go to a local dealer to hear it, what are your options, right?
Well, you just blind
So,
buy $6,000 headphone and you use the headphones.com amazing 365 days return policy.
of course, right? But, you know, being a little bit, you know, actually serious about this, it is really hard just to, you know, gauge your perspective with, you know, the person you're talking to's perspective, right? You know, there's a lot of reviewers now out there, but, you know, does your taste align up with this person's taste? And then, you know, will that actually work out for your situation? That's why, you know, when I'm talking to somebody, I want to get, you know, the scope of, you know, what are you listening to? What's your budget? What do you think your environment's going to be like, right? Like when I was working at the source, we would do that for speakers. We would do that for home theater. Why wouldn't we do it for headphones when everybody has a different, you know, situation, right?
Right.
Let's go and build the system for you, or get a headphone or an amp or a DAC or a DAP or whatever that fits your situation rather than, oh yeah, just get a clear because the clear is safe and it's like an all-rounder, right? It's like, well, there could be a situation where someone wants an Aria or an LCDX or blah blah blah, right? There's a lot of things to consider in that phase, you know?
Um so like you worked at the source and obviously that has a physical location in like LA or where the source is. If you want to just Google the source VA, you'll find out where that is. And obviously headphones.com is based in Canada, so like everything that you do is for the most part online with the exception of like can jam, right? So I mean, like, obviously you don't want to like see people during COVID, and obviously like you've been in the industry for so long. Do you still value that face-to-face interaction with a customer?
Yeah, I would still say I value that face-to-face time, right? Just because you can only do so much over, you know, mount like over the keyboard. And then there's so much you can only do over the phone, right? That it can help just to be, you know, one-on-one face-to-face to someone and just giving them the demo in person, right? Just because, you know, there's a lot of factors to consider, right, for them.
um
And it's also I just enjoy talking to people.
I think that's why you're on here, and I enjoy talking to you. That's why you're on here. But you enjoy talking to random people, which I cannot. I do not have empathy for. Because, I mean, like I don't. Again, we're not. I don't know how much you want to talk about this, but like, yeah, you have some like silly stories.
I do.
So like, I think like I think we gave I think like before the lag or whatever, before the incident that I had, we gave enough shout out to headphones.com, and now like now it's up to you. Like if you want to tell some series, like I always enjoy your silly stories. You want to tell some silly stories? Just be as vague as you can. Like it doesn't have to be in your times at headphones.com. You don't have to say anything because like you work for like Questyle, you work for TSAV, you work for headphones.com, you work for a bunch of different audio companies. So like it doesn't really have to be like anything specific.
Mm-hmm. I think for me in the context of like stories, it's easier for me like if there's like a context or like a reason I'm telling like a story to like lead into it.
I mean like I think like there's a lot of times that like how about this? Like a lot of people like to spend money.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and you in LA is a very like rich area, like right. TSAV have a business of home installation because they have the clientele right in LA because like everybody has more money than they know what to spend for, so why not buy like a home, like and then you have that like with like headphones, right? So like I feel like what's like the best more money than sense moment that you would have?
I can probably delve this story down.
Okay.
So at the source, we had very big speakers, like a few speakers that were over $100,000. So we would get the clientele that would people, come in, listen to a bunch of the big stuff, right? And you don't sell those big $100,000 speakers on the regular, right? It's a lot easier to have like a flagship, like whatever piece to show off
right
the regular stuff, right?
Right.
The things that are 50 or
Right.
10 or $5,000, right?
Right.
A lot easier to sell downwards rather than sell upwards. But you'll occasionally get those customers that want the biggest and baddest thing that you have. So this was a story that my boss coworkers kind of told me prior to me actually joining the source, where one guy comes in, wants to hear like kind of the biggest and baddest stuff that we have, right? And then he eventually picks out, oh, I really like the Sonos Faber Aida speakers, and those are $120,000 pair of speakers. So we didn't have them in stock, we'd have to order them, but yeah, we closed the deal on that. Then it was going to be a theater, or it was an installation in the guy's house, right? So it takes a couple of weeks for the speakers to build to his specifications, right? But then they're ready. So then the address was a Beverly Hills address, so it's whatever, a rich
Obviously.
person's house.
Uh-oh.
Open the garage. More Teslas, a few Porsches here and there. And it's like, oh, okay, right. So they were going to go, because the speakers were so big, they had to move by pallet. And the biggest place to bring them in was through the garage, right? So they're moving them in and get inside the mansion. And then all of a sudden you see a bunch of SpaceX stuff everywhere. So, you put one and two together. Oh, this is Elon Musk's house, right? So they bring the speakers into the game room, get that all set up, and they like pull out the speaker wires. And it's like, okay, well, so where are we plugging this into? And the guy that's obviously not Elon Musk's points to like a $400 Denon receiver. And just like, what? It's like, yeah, I plug it into that. It's like, what? Right? The guy like had no or my theory of like what happened was the guy was hired by Elon Musk or told by Elon Musk, go buy me a badass pair of speakers and here's your budget, and like $100,000 or whatever dollars. So he finds probably like the nicest looking speakers that the source had and buys them, but didn't consider, yeah, next to the $120,000 speaker was like $100,000 of just amplifier or $50,000 of a preamp, right? There's all these other components to it the guy didn't budget for. So if he bought like say the $70,000 speaker and the $50,000 amp or even less, then he would have been fine. But he blew his entire budget on the speakers. It was just.
Have you ever considered that he's active participant of the reddit.com/headphones, so he does not believe in the source meme that that amplifier and DAC does not contribute to the sound of the transducer? Have you ever considered that? Maybe he's more five-head than you.
So the end result of him not having the proper speaker amp
does it make it sound?
Well, it does.
It does. But does it make an audible sound?
It's not like the lack of power, too much power that destroys your speakers or headphones. It's the distortion, right? It's the clipping. So obviously, it's not hard to plug in a pair of speakers. You can just Google out how to do that, right? So like my coworkers, they refused. We're not gonna plug this thing in because it's obviously not enough power. So go home, make like a few proposals of you can get like the $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 speakers to power them. Well, the guy that was hired by Elon Musk, he doesn't do any of that. He just Googles how do I plug in the speakers, right? And figures out how to plug in the speaker wires. It's like Elon Musk is like, oh cool, I got my speakers, and starts using them. And it's like, damn, it's really low. So he starts cranking it. It's like max out the unit. And that's where you start clipping, and that's when you start distorting, and then lo and behold, he blew a tweeter. So it's $11,000 repair there, right? It was just really idiotic. Oh, it's a really dumb situation.
Did that end it somewhere as him buying a better amp, or it ended as Elon Musk never coming back to TSAV ever again?
I never actually got the end of the story if he ended up. So I know he probably got the tweeter fixed. I don't know where it ended for, say, did he finally buy the right electronics? Because obviously Elon Musk has plenty of money now, right?
Well, that was that what was that story back in like what?
So that was before 2017.
So that's before he was a billionaire.
No, I think at the time he was still worth like 40 billion or 30 billion. So he still had plenty of money, right?
Wait, you say 2014?
2017.
2017. Okay, he's a billionaire by then. Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
He has a merge Sun City and whatever. Okay, no, too much talk.
Yeah. That's just there's just other weird things that rich people are kind of weird. Where one of my coworkers was saying that they get to a job site and they're working on it, right? And then the homeowner's wife comes back and is like, oh, okay, so next thing to finish up the project, I want lead paint. Just
you want lead
what?
paint?
You want lead paint in your house? It's like, well, yeah, I want lead.
I mean, if you want to kind of shorten your life expectancy, sure.
And it's just
or if you hate babies.
And lead paint's been illegal since the late 70s. And it's one,
I mean, I'm sure you can get them lead paint if you want to.
It's one, where do you get lead paint? And two, aren't you gonna go to get some serious fines or face jail time for painting with lead paint kind of deal?
But it doesn't have that that Victorian smell to your house.
So it was just because the customer is so unrelenting on that, that's when my coworkers we're done, we're quit, right? It's just it's not worth it.
Paint?
Yeah, you can't even get lead paint, right? And it's not even our job for
illegal
the painter, right? To get the lead paint, but I don't know. It's really silly. People are silly.
So I know you guys don't like to. So I joke about this with Taryn like long time ago, that he would never hire a weeaboo. Now that he kind of have like, I want to say like 3 people on his payroll who are a little bit more in tune with the youth, let's say. Do you have any contribution to the restocking of my favorite headphones on headphones.com?
They want more moon drops.
No, not that one. That's disgusting. You
want more Audio Technicas?
No, yes. Like, why did they bring it back? Cause
that one I'm actually not sure about.
Oh, okay.
We were an Audio Technica dealer prior to me.
Oh, right, that's right.
You
told me that before.
Yeah, and then
he was, and then he wasn't, and then he was again. So now it's back in stock.
So I don't actually know all the details behind all of that.
But it is your favorite headphone, right?
I don't own any Audio Technicas.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
It's one of those ones that, of what we have right now for Audio Technica, the ADX 5K, that does actually, I do like how it sounds. Would I own it? I'm not sure. Like, I think for me, like, I have an 800S. I think it's so similar that I couldn't really justify getting
800S.
Like, it's so similar though that I couldn't really justify getting, like, having both. I think I would sell one and keep the other.
Yeah, that's why you sell your gold 800S, which you have. Last I checked, do you still have it with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez. It doesn't. The gold doesn't show.
I think with the lighting, it doesn't really show.
Yeah. Right, I was like, it does not look very gold, but you do have the limited edition 800S.
Yeah.
Which you can probably get for a very good buck for that headphone now. I
mean, it's used now. I probably need to replace a bunch of the pads and clean it, and it's not like 100% mint condition. Like a bunch of I want to say probably like a quarter to half of the people that probably bought the anniversary 800S that I have, they probably didn't even take out of the box. They're just waiting for an opportunity to like flip it, right? So, I took it out. I use it. If I ever wanted to sell it, I probably wouldn't lose money at least on it, right?
I'm sure you can buy. I'm sure you can buy ADX 5K if you sell the 800S right now.
Yeah, it's there are a few things that I'm probably wanting to move personally. I want to like go and sell my Ether 2. I don't know what I want to do with my LCDX. I don't think I'm gonna really keep it. So there's like a bunch of things that I'm personally looking to move on from.
This is not a podcast where you just sell your headphones, please.
But then after that, it's just like, okay, now I have all this these funds from the things I've sold. What do I get now? Do I want to get an
ADX
LCD
5000, which is the best headphone that you guys ever have?
Yeah. Do I get an ADX 5K? Do I get a Utopia? Do I get an LCD 5? Those are things that, I kind of really like that I would want to possibly get. But at the same time, I'm pretty happy with, using the HE6 right now, 800S. I also have like a 580. I have a bunch of headphones, so.
Okay, so now that you're talking about your headphones, right? So you've been working in the industry for so long, and I don't think anybody can say that. I don't think anybody in America, in the States, like West Side, can say that they have tried more random stuff than you. And you ended up with the 800S and the HE6 and a bunch of other stuff. So like, what do you have like right now? Obviously you have the HE6 on your head, which is obviously the one and only good Chi-Fi man that you should ever get. I agree. If you want to tune into the last episode of the podcast, me and System talked about it. Like I love the HE6, and you have the 800S, right? And that's like two of the most like mentionable headphones you have, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not talk about the DAC stuff because that's disgusting. Yeah. And Odyssey.
Yeah. I can run down like my chain of it's a Dangerous Convert 2 to Ryston BHA1. used those with the HE6 800S, but right now I'm actually right on the Army 80i2 going into the SPL Fonder XE. Um, so I want to say like the Fonder probably benefits more the HE6 because it's more powerful than the BHA1.
Isn't that a
But like,
speaker amp?
I mean, I think it's like 7 watts, like full
Right.
load on the Fonder XE.
Right.
It's powerful. Whereas like the BHA1 that like tops out around 2 watts. So the combo with the GC2 BHA1, it's pretty lean. It's not probably as punchy as it could be, like say on the SPL, but like on the 800S, I think that's a really great pairing personally.
Rocking the BH1. I still remember that BH1 deal because I am still salty about it because you bought that one for $600, did you not? I think you did.
Bought it for like 900.
Wait, nah, you bought it for like way cheap, and I was gonna get it. That BH1, the Bryson.
Nah.
Somebody I think it's like a mutual friend, like I guess a friend of yours, and I knew that was selling it, and you bought it used. I was like, oh, I could have gotten that.
If it is the same person,
I think so.
I think what also happened was he offered it me at a lower price.
Right,
But
exactly.
but I knew that he was going through some real life issues. I was like, here's a little extra, just keep it. Like,
You're
it's
so
cool,
nice.
man.
You're so
Yeah.
nice. Now I don't have an amp, but it's okay. My amp is built into my speaker now, so I don't give a fuck. So, most of your gears are actually quite old. Like not like old, like in the like audio term, right? Like so, like the newest stuff is like. Was the LCDX before 800S or after 800S? I'm not too familiar with
LCDX was before.
Okay. So 800S will be like your most current headphone.
Yeah, I would say in relative terms, yeah, like based on the actual
Release
release
order.
date.
Right.
Right.
Well, not
That
like
the
acquisition order.
800S that came out like 2016, I want to
Right,
say.
and that's quite like ancient.
Yeah, the anniversary pair that came out like last year, so that's
Well,
like
yeah, but that
2020.
doesn't really count because it sounds the same
Yeah.
as the regular S, right? So
Yeah, it's
not
a
like
regular tuning.
they gave it
right.
the same paint job. They like a different
Yeah.
paint job. I mean,
Different paint job, yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I do also have like the Ether 2, which came out like 2018.
Oh, did they really?
I wanna say
That
somewhere
was
around-
quite recent.
Yeah, so that was pretty recent. What else?
I kind of purged that out of my memory. Anything from DCA, I really don't like. Yeah.
It's fine. Everyone has their different tastes. It's at the time I really liked it. I used it a lot, but then after I got the HE6, after I got the 800S, I want to say for like me, kind of the Ether 2, it's not like bad. Like I use some EQ with it, I get it to how I like to sound, but like the 800S, the HE6, I think the technical performance of those two I kind of prefer more than the Ether 2s. So that's why I'm kind of looking to eventually go and sell my Ether 2.
So, like, obviously everything is like online now with you, with headphones.com. And like, and not even that, like, do you feel like, because I'm not a salesman, is it hard to sell people something that you don't like?
It's
I mean, obviously you can't like everything, right? But it's still your job to sell it.
it's what I've learned from kind of being in this industry and kind of in this hobby for this many years.
But obviously, by the way, that everything that headphones.com sell, you love. It's great. Like I'm just saying,
course.
like with the off chance, because like you will never sell anything that you don't love. This is like hypothetical, by the way.
Yes,
So like hypothetically, if headphones.com would sell something really bad, I don't know what, like really bad headphone, like KZs, which they will never sell. By the way, so I'm not ruining any chances here. So 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 if Terrence says tomorrow I want to sell some KZs.
I will say there isn't like a lot of downward pressure from
Oh, of course
Terran,
not,
from
because
headphones.com.
well, obviously
That,
Terran's
like,
the greatest
you know,
boss. I'm sorry.
yeah, just in general for like downward selling pressure. There's never like any like incentive like, oh, we have a shitload of this headphone, let's go push this. It's just
Of course
yeah,
not. Headphones.com is the greatest company in the world. Obviously,
yeah,
I would never like shit on Headphones.com personally.
yeah. But like in like the hypothetical of
of you selling something that you don't like.
it's a product that I don't like, but the customer seems to be 100% into it. That I might like, for them, tell them it's like, okay, yeah, for your situation, for your tastes, I think it might work out for you.
Would you ever nudge them into something else that you might prefer?
I would say it depends on the situation.
Okay, let's say like,
I do have an example actually.
Okay, go ahead. Story time.
So, like the Dan Clark Audio headphones, they are actually like the Aeon series is actually like 92 dB. It's fairly inefficient of a headphone. And if someone's saying, I want to use the Aeon 2 Noir with my phone or with the dongle or something that's like a really low amount of power, it's just like, whoa, pause. I think this is going to end up with you returning the Aeon 2 Noir because you're going to be underpowering it. You're going to be maxed out in your volume and you're still not going to have enough juice for it. I think like
or here, let me interject, right? Because I'm obviously a better salesman than you, right? Or do you sell him the Aeon 2 and you bait him into a $2,000 amplifier purchase?
I'm going to be realistic with the person and say, for your situation, given the fact that you want this $900 headphone, you might need to spend another $100, $200, $300.
That's not very, no. I said, well, since you have this headphone already and it doesn't make any sound out of your dongle, we have this nice amp here. That's how you get them, man. That's how you, like, you know how like the drug dealers always say, oh, the first one's on me. That's how you get them.
Yeah,
right.
I'd rather them like, it's also like less work down the line where I get them to, if they're really 100% committed on the Aeon 2 Noir, that they get like the proper amp right from the get-go, right? It doesn't serve me if I like get them to sell buy the Aeon 2 Noir and then like a week from now it's like, hey, there's something wrong with it. I'm like maxed out on my volume and I'm using a dongle. It's like, okay, well now you gotta go like, so it's like two conversations rather than I could have squeezed it into one.
And then you sold him another amp. That's great, right? That's how you get him. That's like, you got the first thing, you hook line, and then now you sinker with the amp. Mm-hmm. And then you got him into that whole source chain memeing. It's like, oh, you gotta get like, but, and he's like, oh, but I came from Reddit. They tell me that amplifier doesn't really matter. And then you go like, well,
I'd rather someone be happy right from the get-go than us having to make a million adjustments down the line. That's the way I've been approaching it ever since I've been at Questel, ever since I've been at the Source AV.
I don't know what you're talking about, Questel, because you just recommend the CMI 12 or whatever that's called. Oh, actually, it wasn't a thing when you were at Questel.
Yeah, at the time when I was at Questel, we had the QP1R, the CMA 600i, 400i, the CMA 12. Yeah, the 12 was being worked on at the time. The QP2R just came out around the time when I left. And I believe ever since then, they have the QPM, the CMA12, CMA12 Master, the M12, which is the little, like, kind of portable.
Okay, enough about Questel.
Yeah.
Okay, interrupt. You're right. Sorry, I don't like talking about Questel. They're really not that great. So I don't think I'm ruining any relationships here. Obviously you guys hate, I mean, I don't know why, but you guys seem to have a very bad relationship with auto headphones, the Reddit community, but it's your subreddit, right? Because you're headphones.com and it's our headphones.
When it comes to
You don't have to talk about that if you don't want to.
yeah, when it comes to like Reddit, when it comes to all these different places, you can't make everybody happy, right?
No.
There are
I'm,
certain
I'm talking about like, do you ever like hit your face in the head when people tell you that I want to buy a Utopia, but then I want a shit stack.
yeah, like if they're buying a Utopia and then it's gonna be like powered on something like woefully inadequate for it, right?
Dude,
It's like one of those.
would you tell them that? Would you tell them that? Like, do you type like, maybe not the best idea, and they go like, well, I read on Reddit.
It's. I treat everybody in good faith.
Oh, of course you have to. I mean, I don't.
That they might literally just not be aware, or if they're so dug in to the fact that they want to use the dongle with the Utopia, whatever, it's you're spending the money. We have the return policy in place. If you want to eventually return it for whatever reason because it is inaccurate, not powerful enough, that's completely within your right.
That's what's so great about headphones.com, because even if you're retarded, they will let you return your headphone. Okay, I don't work for headphones.com, by the way. I'm not saying he's not saying that. I'm saying that.
Yeah. But there are situations that like someone does like call up. Like the Aeon 2 situation is very actually common, where someone's like, "Oh yeah, I bought the Dragonfly Cobalt, and it's still not enough." And it's like, yeah, you're gonna need something more powerful than that. You're gonna need like a desktop amp for it, right? And that's like been more than one situation where someone buys something that's too inefficient or not enough power, or it's going to clip it like hell. That you can only help them so much, and some of the times the people they don't believe you, and they think like something's wrong with the headphone,
right.
And there's been situations where someone's like, "Oh, there's something wrong with like my Focal headphones." And it's like, it does this, and it's like, no, it sounds like it's working properly. Go and send it to me, and I'll go and test it. And I test it, and I can't find anything wrong with it. And it just sounds like to me in this situation that like, okay, whatever you were doing on your end seems like that was the fault rather than the headphones. But whatever, let me figure out what's best to work on your situation. Do you want to return it? Do you want to exchange? Blah blah blah. Right.
Okay. How about let me ask you this, right? Obviously, the customer is always right. Well, in this case, I'm the customer. And I feel like, again, like I don't buy anything from you. I bought one thing from you, and like I never really asked you any question aside from how much is a Con Cube cost from TSAV, and I just kind of bought it because like, do you I feel like when you're selling things, like it's kind of like the customer obviously wants to buy something, right? That's why they're talking to you. Mm-hmm. But then like they think they know better. I mean like I feel like, and then when you're trying to sell, and then when you tell them that, hey, you might want a better amp than what you already have, then they think that, oh, you're just trying to upsell stuff to make money.
I've definitely had those situations before.
Like a lot.
Where,
oh, you're just trying to make money off of me. I just want this headphone with my dongle. I'm not subscribed to your amp meme.
Like when I was working at like the Source AV, there was like a situation where someone ordered like a bassy headphone, and he heard it in the store. Right.
Obviously, you guys have like the best amps ever.
And then he also like heard it on like the Mojo, so he really liked that kind of combo. But then, before I got the item in, he was like, "Can I actually go and cancel it? I just saw this sweet hot deal on the Etymotic," and I was just like, "What?" It's like the Etymotic's a completely different sound than the IEM you just bought and demo it in the store that you know that you like, right?
But he just got this sweet hot deal on animatics. Do you hate the DF's sound signature?
And I was just trying to like tell him, it was like, well, it's a complete opposite sound of like the headphone that you just heard, right? And in that moment of like me like calling him to let him know, it's like, yeah, I don't care. You want to cancel? I don't care, right? But he was like, oh, don't worry, man. I work in sales as well. I understand what you're doing. You don't want to lose a sale. It's like, I don't give a shit about the sale. It's a $200 IM, right?
Ouch.
I think you're just making a mistake right now, right? But whatever. It's sometimes people are more into making the deal than the actual product. And if that's their case, right? Whatever, more power to you. But
I mean, like, I'm a sucker for a good deal. I can't lie to you.
Yeah, everybody likes that deal.
Yeah, is it hard to like convince people when they're like, would you say like most of your customers, like in general, not just from headphones.com, come into the store already have their mind made up?
I would say, if I'm kind of classifying my customers into kind of three groups, where you might have the group one where it's like a customer that's completely new to everything. They aren't sure very much, or they've done like a little bit of reading.
I think those are like the best kind of customers.
That they just, in the case of like the Source, because we had so many different products at so many different price points, it's like, okay, let's figure out what works for you. These are really popular for me, for my customers. I think we should start out with these ones, and we can go from there. And we can figure out how you're leaning, like, oh, I want more bass, I want this, I want that. Right?
Okay, so I'm gonna interrupt you right here, right? I'm just gonna ask you a quick question. So like there's this weird online thing, like like that people come in, right? Let's say somebody, like, again, like I never really like walk into an audio store in the state before. I do that in China, but then like so is it an insult to ask a customer how much are you willing to spend if they don't say outright? Like if they don't come in the door and say, hey, I got $500 to spend. If they just say, hey, I want to try some headphones, like do you ask them? Is it like an insult to them? Like in Los Angeles, let's say in Los Angeles, I feel like Californians would take more pride in that.
I think it's the way you phrase the question.
Okay, so how
like
would you phrase it?
If I'm asking, if someone's coming in or whatever, right, even online, hey, I want to get a nice pair of headphones, and that's
nice,
very vague
nice.
already.
Yeah,
right?
Yes, okay.
I could start off with the conversation. It's like, okay, cool. Do you want like an open headphone? Do you want a closed headphone? Right. Okay. So that at least divides it in half.
Right. So if they want to, if they say they want a closed headphone, they just that's why hang up the chat, because there's no such thing as a closed back headphone, right?
No, there's plenty of closed backs.
Oh, I forgot you still trying to sell that Focal Stellia that you guys have in stock, that you guys bought like back in 5 years ago, which you guys probably never sold because it's an awful headphones. Okay, my bad. Tangent here.
But like, but then, leading on from the open or the close, it's also like, what do you think you're comfortable with your budget, right?
Is that the most comfortable way, like non-offensive way to ask a Westerner how much money they'd have?
I mean, yeah, if you ask them, what's your budget for this project, right? That they're more comfortable disclosing that like, oh yeah, my budget's going to be $1,000 for everything, right? And so that at least gives me perspective of, I'm going to get a headphone amp and DAC open back for him under $1,000, and boom, we're ready, and we're going to go from there. But if they don't give me the budget, it's like, well, then, I have a closed back that's, $4,000. I have a closed back that's $200, right? How do I determine what works for you without you letting me know what you're wanting to spend? Right?
The answer is ADX 5000 on a HPA4 on into an RME, which is, by the way, my preferable chain of audio all of them, which happens to be on sale on headphones.com, by the way. Use your promo code Rush10 to get 10%. I'll be expecting my free ADX 5000 after this. I'm just kidding. We're not sponsored by headphones.com. That was a terrible joke.
Terrible joke. Yes.
So let me just. So like again, I kind of like sit in the audio store. Like, so whenever I go back to China, I would just go to my hometown audio store, and I'm a good friends with the owner. I would sit in the shop and watch the shop for them, and I get a lot of these customers, which is hilarious, right? They come in for an IEM, and I asked, and they go like, "Hey, I'm looking for an IEM." Like, I'm like, "Great, okay. So what are you looking for?" He's like, "Look at so and so," and I'm like, "Okay, so." And I always go like, and it's kind of rude to ask like a Chinese person how much how much you want to spend, because like from a person who doesn't have any idea how much an IEM would cost, like they will never expect an IEM would cost $2,000, right? They go like, well, it's an IEM, it's like an earbud, right? In their mind, like, I don't care, like whatever the most expensive. It's like, well, okay, here, try VX, and it's like, oh, this is great, I want to buy it. I was like, okay, that's 2,000 American dollars, which is, you know, about 12,000 Chinese yuan. And they go like, never mind.
You know, that's where I'm gonna like, you know.
Do you ever work that price? And it's like, you know, the Focal Utopia is $3,500.
No, I like being honest with the person up front, and I like to tell them like
you don't fish them into it. You're like, I guess I have to spend $3,500.
I don't. Damn. Like even when I was at the source and I was a salesman in that sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never really felt comfortable about like doing the upsell or like pushing cables or this or that. I liked getting people.
Maybe that's why they fire you from the source AV.
No, but like that's why I liked getting people into the right headphone for their situation or the right setup. I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna sell this guy like $1,000 headphone and then like tack on whatever for the cable just because I can get away with the cable. If he needs like a second cable because this comes only with the quarter inch and he needs an XLR, like, hey, you know, let's go and get like option 2 that has, you know, the XLR cable for like $100 more, but this works for your situation, or blah blah, right?
So you will never stretch anybody's budget?
Not intentionally, or if it's like a situation where
you make a terrible like Discord IEM recommendation person.
I want to say, like, for me, I like to bend myself to the person, right? To their situation, to their setup. Yeah, that's the way I like to approach these things personally.
So do you ever like obviously you're part of a lot of like audio Discord server, like and obviously you do this for a living, right? And you will never do it for free, and that would be ridiculous. I am the big proponent of never do things that you do for a living for free. So like obviously you give headphones recommendation for a living. You will never do it for free. Do you ever read like all these like help channels that just like, I got $300 to spend on an IEM, what should I buy? And you ever just facepalm yourself on the not very professional recommendation that people would give?
Not really. Like,
no? you don't like cringe yourself like that?
I mean, like, in certain situations I might like cringe depending on the context. But if someone's actually making the honest effort to look for help on a Discord or wherever, like, I'm not gonna like be a dick to the person.
I mean, obviously, I don't think you would ever reply. You're not very active anymore, like, you know, on the peasant Discords.
I mean, I'm in so many different servers now that I'm just kind of spread too far or spread too thin.
Obviously,
like,
AD is the best server.
But it's
and he laughs.
It's for me, you know, I like to hang out. Every now and then someone like DMs me like a question. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll just spend a few minutes helping them out. But it's I have more things to do than
Right.
hang out on Discord all day.
And you mentioned that. How often do you get a fucking DM on Discord and asking you to do your job when you're not on the clock?
Um,
Do you ever go like, "This is my job. You're not paying me. I'm not gonna answer your question." Obviously, you wouldn't do that because you're a nice guy, right? But like, I would literally do this. I'm like, if I would like say, "Hey, I do this for a living and I'm off the clock right now. You're literally asking me for purchase advice. If you want to do that, ask me on headphones.com and then I'll answer you from Monday to Friday, 8, 9, or whatever." I feel like I think that's for I like 100% in your right to say that, like, because it's ridiculous.
I think in those contexts of if someone's just like DMing me a question and I have some time in the moment, yeah, I'll go and respond. Like if I'm in the middle of a game or I'm out or it's just like I'm working, I might put that off for a little bit, right? But it's at least I'll kind of respond.
Please don't DM netforce at on Discords about your stupid audio advice because he actually does this for a living. So if you want to reach him, what's the best way to reach you? So like on headphones.com, you do that little the headphones.com this little chat thing, right? I'm trying to get you trolled. So like it's either you or Taryn or another person who answers the chat, right?
Mm-hmm. So on our live chat,
Right,
we do have 3 people, me, Taryn, April.
Mm-hmm.
We do have our contact us part on our website that if you wanted to email, you can just send an email, right? Those are probably like the 2 best ways to contact us, just like info@headphones.com or to speak to us on live chat, just because that's like a instant thing,
Right.
But that obviously happens during our business hours,
Right. Which which you're on the clock for.
Yeah, which I'm on the clock for.
Right.
But, I'll get these DMs, and it's just like, if it's like 8 o'clock, and it's like, I'm making dinner right now, and I have like 15 minutes while it's like cooking. It's like, just send a few messages back and forth. But, yeah, I want to try to be helpful at least.
Yeah. This is why you're such a great like person, like, which I'm not, right? You've been working in this industry for like fucking how long? 5, 6, 7 years?
8 years technically. Yeah.
8 years technically.
Oh no, wait. 5 years. Yeah, if I started in 2016.
Right. So
yeah.
like you've been working in this industry for 5 years, and you still willing to help people, which you're not. You're literally, this is your job, and like on your free time. And I obviously I don't get paid like a cent for telling people my awful opinions. And like sometimes some people would ask me something, I don't know why in God's earth anybody would ask for my opinion, but I'm like, no. I'm like, no, I don't want to hear your stupid opinion. I don't want to hear your stupid ideas. I don't want you to tell me, like, I can't. I don't know how you do it. Like obviously if I'm getting paid, I would, right? Working is different. Like, I am the opinion that you're not supposed to like your job, right? And I hated my job, but you love. Back to the audio recommendation thing. Do you remember that time where I drunk messaged you on headphones.com live chat?
Yeah, I remember it.
That's when I just found out that you don't work, you no longer work at TSAV and you worked at headphones.com, and I can reach you for the live chat, and that's when I messaged you. It was hilarious.
Mm. Yeah, it was funny at like Can Jam SoCal that because I was working at the source for so long, I was such like a face there apparently.
Mm-hmm.
That people were coming up to our booth at headphones.com. And there was like another mishap where the guys that were shipping our banners, like the banners didn't arrive in time, so we didn't have very much signage saying that we were headphones.com, even though we spent hundreds of dollars on a banner. That like they saw me and it's like, oh, this is the source booth, and it's like, no, that's over there. It's like, but Alan's here, and it's like, but I don't work at the source anymore.
Oh no, that's awful.
So that happened a few times, but it was just like, whatever, simple mistake, or they just didn't know, so which is fine, right? Everyone's a little bit different in that regard, but yeah.
Is it so? Since you like to bring it back to Can Jam, do you miss it? Obviously, you haven't done all these live things anymore, and then like you've been working at headphones.com for like a while, so everything's like online for them. Do you like, and then you went to Can Jam like last month? Do you miss that live convention thing, or like just seeing people face to face? Like, do you ever wish Taryn would build a physical location in LA for you to just work in that shop? We will probably be in Seattle. You have to be moved. You have to move to Seattle, but would you ever wish that like you would have to work in it? Like, do you miss a physical location? Let's say like COVID isn't a thing. Let's say like that's not something you have to worry about.
It's after doing the retail thing for a little over 3 years and now doing headphones.com for like around 10 months now. I will say I really don't really miss doing a physical store. Like, I will, if we did open like a retail store, I probably would like, pop in every now and then, but it wouldn't be something like I would be very much interested in doing. Like, I like the Can Jam where it's condensed to like 2 days.
Okay, so you get your dose of audio autism in IRL, and then you're like done.
I can just go and like, do what I used to do, but in probably like a faster way,
right?
Or
I get
a condensed way,
I get
or like what me and a bunch of friends did in July. We had our a little get together for like probably like a dozen of us in an Airbnb in Ohio, and we brought gear. We all like had a good time. It was just kind of a bunch of small friends, and it wasn't like me working. It was just me hanging out with friends, right, and just listening and like palling out.
In Ohio,
yeah,
there's nothing in Ohio.
Yeah, so that's why we were just listening to headphones all the time. Right.
Oh, okay, fine, sure.
But now that things are reopening, like I think like next week or something like that, or the week after. Yeah, the week after is like Capital Audio Fest, and then there's Florida Audio Fest, CES. NAMM Show got pushed to June of next year for the SoCal one. But then we got Can Jam New York in like February. Like, there's a lot of events coming up, and I at least want to try to hit some of them, like if I have time.
Like personally, like you will not like. I mean, obviously, if headphones.com want to do headphones like Can Jam New York, you would go there as a rep, right? But like again, back to like my like very first question, like would you actually would still go to Can Jam New York like as a like attendee?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%. Okay. Just because
Okay.
I would like to meet up with friends. I would like to do some own listening now.
I mean, why would you want to do some listening when headphones.com carry the best headphones that you guys can ever offer in the world?
Well, just because there are certain items that like, oh yeah, we're only going to do Can Jam New York next year, and then after that, you're going to have to probably come out to like an Asia show to hear it, right? So
I don't think
like
there's anything going to be like that.
Well, in that context, I would like to at least listen to it, maybe talk to someone from the company, just like, yeah, networking kind of deal. But
I mean, like, if anything is truly great, headphones.com would have it. Any for all your headphones need, please go to headphones.com. We're not sponsoring them.
You're pushing headphones.com more than I am.
I know, right? Because Taryn's cutting me a check after this. Well, I still live in the same address. So yeah. Oh no, I'm that's a joke. I feel like it's great because like when I talk to like obviously like when I talk to you and like when I talk to maybe like some other people too, who obviously like love what they do and truly like just believe in like things that they sell. I mean maybe like the things that they do. Obviously you don't love everything you sell. Maybe at Quest style, because whatever. It like. Do you view the hobby a little bit more different now that you have worked in it so many years? Like, or do you still get like excited about new releases as a as a hobbyist and not an industry person? Like when you listen to something, do you get like, oh, you think it's like, oh, this is great, instead of saying, oh, I can sell this?
Yeah, I definitely still get excited with new products or something different or just like new technology stuff, right? Because like I think it was like say Raw, right? Raw, they worked on the SR1A for like a long time, right? And I think it was on SBAF. People were talking about like, oh yeah, like in 2011 I had an idea for a ribbon, but then like it was gonna be too complicated, or they would need an adapter box and all these different kind of deals with it, that it would have been at the time too difficult to make a ribbon headphone. But the market has evolved that a $3,500 ribbon headphone can exist and also spawn kind of different iterations, different versions. So, the first time I heard the Raw, I really liked it, but then, over time it's something that I've figured out that, like, it's not kind of my taste. But at least the technology...
I don't think it's anybody's taste unless your brain have a built-in bass roll-off, but okay, sure.
But, like, it's at least exciting for me that now that people have kind of figured out a way to commercially make the ribbon kind of viable, that there are going to be more kind of ribbon stuff in the future, or some iteration or different technology that's like more in the speaker realm coming into the headphone space.
Okay, so the only so when they released the Raw, right? I'm like, okay, so you put a tweeter, okay. So when Focal released their headphones, right? You remember that? Obviously, you've been in the industry for a very long time, right? So when Focal released their headphones, because like Focal used to only do like hi-fi stuff, like speakers and like studio monitors and all that stuff, right? And they suddenly released their speaker line with the Utopia. I was like, okay, so like basically when I thought, like, okay, so you put your tweeter in a headphone, and it's gonna sound awful because it's a tweeter. And then obviously we're not gonna debate on how good the Focal Utopia sounds, which I really love. I love the Focal Utopia. And then I feel like a lot of the speaker manufacturers thought they can put their speaker tweeter into a headphones, which comes in the train wreck of a disaster called the RAW, and then somehow a little bit better called the headphone. So I'm not gonna go down that tweeter in headphone train on the RAW, because that thing is a train wreck of a headphone, if you were to ask me.
So I want to look at, say, the planars, right? Because planars have been around since the 60s. And, Yamaha, the Soviets, they had planar headphones even back then.
Okay, sorry, never mind. The RAW is the best headphone ever. I just checked headphones.com. You guys do sell the RAW.
But I want to say probably up until, like, the last 10 years, the planars weren't really, like, a thing. Like,
I think it is. I think it's always been a thing since Dr. Fang Biang.
And that was like around 10 years ago.
Right. With the launch of his Jade 1, right? That's before that they're even Hi-Fi Man.
Yeah, that was before Hi-Fi Man.
Yeah, that was before Hi-Fi Man.
But like in general, like we have so many different planar headphones now. And it's kind of evolved where like the Fostex T50RP, right? That's been around for a while. And, the technology was there. But the issue was kind of implementation, tuning, all these different things. People started like kind of figuring out how to tune better like last 10 years. And, things have only been getting better in the space.
Says the person who wears a planar headphones that's at least 8 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, my point proven. So planar has gone so far that you have your only good pair of planar, which in my opinion, the only pair of planar that's worth buying is still on your head, and you haven't bought. Oh shit, the LCDX is planar, huh?
So actually, if I'm being honest, I have the HE6, HE500, HE400S, HE400. Dan Cluck Audio, Ether 2. Used to have an Ether Flow open, sold that to get the Ether 2. I have an Aeon 2 open. Odyssey, I have the LCD-X, I have the Mobius. I have a lot of planars.
So like, but like the one that's still on your head, and the one of the ones that you still own, which is still the best one, is the one that they made 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's
So tell me again how planar has come a long way since the past 10 years.
just because it keeps evolving. That like, I really like how the HE6 sounds, but at the same time, it's really inefficient, and I modded the hell out of it just because I wasn't a fan of the comfort, right? The old head strap or the old, leather design for the headband was kind of bad. So the recent trend I've been seeing for a lot of planars is, they've been going single-sided, they've been getting more efficient, they've been getting more comfortable. So
And
they've
they
been
sound
addressing,
worse, and they always sound the same, and it's kind of boring.
it's we might eventually get to like a place where we might have a planar headphone that is really efficient, that's really comfortable, that doesn't take a million watts to power, and it sounds as good as say like an HE6, right? We might eventually get to
and
that.
you will find it at headphones.com, yeah.
Possibly, right? But it's always evolving because there are so many new players in the space, and there's also a lot of players in the space that probably are trying to figure out what's the secret formula, what's going to work best for them for whatever blah blah blah, right?
I think the secret formula is to just not make a planar headphone.
No, you can go and make it dynamic if you wanted to.
Exactly.
You can go make
That's why
E-stats again.
that's
You can
why
go ribbons,
ADX
ANTs.
5000 is the best headphone. But again, like I feel like yes, and on the topic of planar, right? And you're the one that brought it up, and obviously I don't sell, and you guys do carry all the great planar magnetic brands like such as Hi-Fi Man, Odyssey, and Denkark Audio. I trying to phrase this question in a more friendly way. I feel like okay. So have you tried the newer stuff yet? Did you get the chance? Like, did you guys? Obviously, you guys have the LCD5 now, right? At headphones.com.
So we have the LCD5 review sample up in HQ in Vancouver.
Okay, so have you you have not personally tried the LCD5?
No,
yet?
I haven't tried it.
Okay, so like obviously I again this is to preface this, I have not heard anything Odyssey pre 2018, so there's that. That's the last time I went back to China. So and I obviously don't like anything from DCA. I feel like the only reason that Hi-Fi Man is so good is because that their counterpart is so awful. So you have tried the Susvara, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great headphone.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Susvara will ever be dethroned as the greatest planar magnetic headphone ever?
I think for what the Susvara does, like for its frequency response, for its tuning in that respect, for its technicalities, I think it's going to be a very hard headphone to beat, just because it does so many things right in that perspective.
And it's a very old headphone too.
I think
2018, I think.
2017. I actually wanna
2017.
say.
Okay, like
That's
late.
when that's when the CES thing happened with Edition 6.
Okay.
Right in early in the year.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, that's been around since 2017.
So it's been like 4 years.
Yeah, the 4 years.
So
now,
like
and
so
it's
like
been around.
knowing how like headphone technology like progresses, right? So, and I'm not, and I hate the Susvara, right? But I am the opinion that the Susvara is the best planar ever made, aside from the HE6. But HE6 is, you know, its own league. I think like excluding the HE6, I think the Susvara is the best planar ever made. Like you being in industry and you trying so many things, like after so many years, do you ever feel that there's anything that will be better than the Susvara, like in the near future, or like do you think like probably not gonna be beaten for like a long time? Cause like I feel like Dr. Fang Bien kind of gave up after the Susvara. And it's like, okay, there's nothing better than this.
Um.
Again, you haven't tried the LCD5 yet, so maybe that's better.
Mhm. I think it also does eventually just come down to like per the person, right? What works best for you?
Oh, I mean, like if you like
That's
planar, that means you already like something that's already cucked.
but like even if there's something that you don't like from DCA or Odyssey or whatever, right? There are people that like it, and in their situation, the Aeon 2 Noir, the Stealth, that works better than them than say like the Hi-Fi Man alternative of say like HER10P, right? That's like the only comparable closed back planar headphone I can think of. But at the same time, maybe the Stellia actually works better for them, even though it's not planar, it's dynamic.
Let's not talk about close back. But what if I just bottleneck into open back planar?
Open back planar, I think everyone will eventually find their own niche in
So
marketplace.
you're not willing to say that if you don't have $6,000 to spend and another 6,000 to spend on amplifiers, you shouldn't really buy planar.
I mean, like the Aria's been like super popular for us, right?
Sure.
And,
I mean, if you want a more cucked version of a Susvara.
but at the same time, the Aria is just going to be at the more affordable price range. And what I've kind of seen, like in my time in the market, where like that between $1,000 to $2,000 price range seems to be kind of like that Goldilocks zone of the most easy-ish kind of price point for people that are looking to go higher end without like breaking 2,000. Like that
Right.
seems to be the comfort zone
Right.
for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think $6,000 is a lot to ask for anybody. Well,
Yeah.
not maybe not for anybody, but for most like let's say 99% of your customers. Like 99% of your customers don't buy Susvara. I would assume.
Yeah,
unless
like,
unless 99% of your customers do buy a Susvara, then I guess
in the industry, you have like a term like selling down, right? The example I gave earlier of like the speakers, right? The $120,000 speaker, we're selling those like once in a blue moon, but that's not the bread and butter. The bread and butter is going to be like that $10,000 to $20,000 price range for us at least, right? That we're moving a lot of those kind of speakers in that price range, much in the same way like headphones. You can have that like, top of the line $6,000 flagship. This is the best we can do. But then, oh, well, I don't have 6 grand, so I'm going to, the HE1000s, those are half the price, but I think the Arias seem like those are going to be the best headphone for me, for my budget, for what I have right now.
So when somebody come up to you on at CanJam or like maybe at TSAV, obviously at TSAV you guys don't sell Hi-Fi Man, right? Do you feel like people are more willing to take the step down in price, or do you never like let's say oh, you know, I have, let's say they always have the amplifier, right, like the necessary amplifier for $1,000 headphones. Would you ever let them try the Susvara in that case?
It's yeah, like
Like,
we
would
didn't
you?
have we didn't have like Hi-Fi Man at the store, but we did have like Focal, right?
Right. Okay.
And the clears were probably like the best,
Right.
like
And they're 1.5
example
grand.
of contrast, right?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
it's in that price point, like
Right.
the
Right. Right.
Aria, and they also have the Utopia as their flagship, right?
Right.
And you can go and hear the Utopia. I didn't care if you wanted to hear the Utopia right out your phone or right off like the $10,000 amp, right? It's at least giving you perspective, even if your budget's like 1,000, 2,000.
So do you ever bait them into like, say, hey, this is what we have?
I mean, not really. Like, people at times, they'd be, I just want to try it just because, there's no harm, no foul, right? So I don't care.
Well, I mean,
right?
I guess there is, right?
Possibly, but like, I wouldn't mind just giving them the demo. So then it's like, yeah, this is what the Utopia can achieve, but it's not in your price range, so we can go and try the clear.
Have you everybody
Right.
have somebody that comes in with the clear and walks out with a Utopia?
Oh yeah, that's happened. That's happened where someone comes in and they're like, yeah, I want to hear 800S because of all the stuff I've been reading. It seems like it's the perfect headphone for me. And then they hear it and it's like, it's not, I don't think it's working out for me. Can I hear this else? And then they walk out like an LCDX or a clear, right?
Right, but that's not like exponentially more expensive though.
Yeah, it was more of a side grade, but I've definitely also had times where, someone comes in for a Utopia, leaves with like the Stax SR09S, right? Because they figured out, I really liked how the Utopia sounds, but I think the Stax sounds better for me,
Oh
right?
my God.
Or for what I listen to.
Okay.
Everybody has their own different flavors, their own different tastes. And, it's hard to, for me, say this is the best headphone, period, just because I like this headphone, but I know it's not for everybody.
So do you ever like, I feel like, again, like that's not for you to judge. In my opinion, and I'm on the headphones.com website right now. Obviously you guys don't sell stacks, right? Let me see.
No, we don't sell stacks.
Wouldn't you say the thing that you miss the most going from TSAV into headphones.com is that you can sell people 009S into BHSE anymore?
Even though that was like our flagship system at the source, I realistically didn't sell very many like BHA 09S systems. I would usually sell like one or the other just because it's so expensive, right? That even like rich people, they have like things that like, you add a haul up and it's like, okay, well, I'm doing this, and this, and now I'm at like the $30,000 price range. And then they do the math in their head and it's like, well, that can be like me moving up to like the next tier of McLaren or whatever, right? Or adding this new accessory. So the people that are spending like $10,000-$20,000 into headphones, they would already be pretty well versed into audio, right?
I don't know. Maybe people just come in like, maybe $20,000 mean nothing to some people,
there's been situations for me where someone like came in, wanted to go hear an electrostat system, and it's like, okay, yeah, and this is the 09S and blah blah blah, and it's just like, okay, I'll take it. Like, cool, right? It's just like something I didn't expect because the 100 other times I've done this demo, someone's like, cool, that was really cool, and I like how it sounded, and I'm gonna get something else, or I just came here to listen to that.
Oh,
right?
wait, it's not like, by the way, these are $15,000.
There are people like the idea of like, doing a test drive of like a Lambo or Ferrari or whatever at the dealership, right? You can do that, but can
No,
you
I don't
afford
think
it?
you can.
Or
I don't think you can. By the way. So
no, I don't think for like
so like
those.
if you don't
Yeah,
roll out in your Rolls Royce at the Lambo dealership, I don't think you get to test the Lambo.
yeah, because like one of the things I've like read about was like the pushier the salesman, like especially when you get into like super high end, they might intentionally act like a dick to you just because it's like, oh, this guy's acting mean to me. I'm gonna buy something to show him up, right? And it's just like, when it comes to cars and stuff, I can totally see that happening. What's happening right now with the car shortage and the chip shortages. People are charging like $30,000 over for like a RAV4 or something like that. It's like insane. But but I've also read stories where someone like, oh yeah, I went to Steinway, their $100,000 whatever pianos, and it's like I'm beginning a piano player, and this guy like didn't have anything on the store, and it's like, you want to go and play it, right? It's like, yeah, let's do it, right? So it's not just the fact that like you want to maximize profits. It's something that like you give someone the play with your expensive things so that at least they know like, okay, down the road maybe I don't get the 09S system, but maybe I go get like the L700 down the road, right? Or I think about doing whatever with E-stats down the road, or E-stats were cool, but I think I'm a planar guy or a dynamic guy.
You mean they will go by the DCA Voce, which sells on your website?
Yeah, we do sell the Voce.
Speaking of selling things that you don't like, obviously you don't want to say anything about that. Do you like obviously like headphones.com have like a wide variety of like selections and stuff. Like, do you ever like miss some of the stuff that you would like have an offer on TSAV, like stacks, like speakers and all that stuff? Cause like
Yeah,
cause like
there's definitely
you guys only really selling e-stats in like on like headphones.com, which I love when I couldn't afford it, right? Cause like I am always like, I always tell people like, cause like back when you used to work at TSAV, I was like, oh, just go into TSAV and try the best ever like e-stats combo, which I still believe to this day is the only e-stats combo you should ever get, by the way. You can still try it at TSAV. Obviously you wouldn't work there anymore, but yeah. Like, do you ever miss like what do you miss about TSAV? I guess, well, nothing, but hypothetically speaking, what do you miss about TSAV?
It's now that like at headphones.com, because we're all online,
Right.
like I'm always in front of a computer or sometimes on the phone talking in various capacities, or it's so busy. And there would be times at like the source where we would have like just downtime because someone didn't come into the store today, or there's nobody in the store right now. That just like you get a chance to catch your breath. Whereas like with headphones.com, there's just so many. I want to say probably because we've been growing so much also this year, that just like there's more customers, but with more customers, not every business can be a Sennheiser. Not every business can have like amazing like QC right off the bat, and just like, okay, hey, there's everything about the headphones good, but it seems like there's something wonky and making like a little bit of squeaky noise, and it's like, okay, I have to deal with this, or I have to make an RMA, or blah blah blah, or someone broke their headphones, right? And that just gets amplified by the scale of the business, right? So right now, like headphones.com, I just miss like the quiet, right? But we're also in the holidays, so it's obviously going to be more busy right now.
Right. So but if you want to work at a slower headphone store, you can always try Gloom Audio. I expect a check from Taryn from that one. Taryn did not make me make that joke, by the way. That was just me. yeah, I mean, like, I feel like headphones.com is definitely like one of the busiest stores. Even like you're still like online, that you're still doing like the same amount of work. Like, but I'm like saying, like, do you ever miss like the face to face stuff, or do you ever like, cause like now you work from home. Is there like a like, do you like take the work home, or like does it always like does it get like shitty? Cause like for me, I always been like when I used to work, I always used to work from home, but I work in the other room, right? So like I had this distinction of like when I leave that room, I'm not working anymore, right?
I think for me, because of how much I'm still involved with it on just like my free time, right?
I'm sorry making you do this podcast. Now you just make me feel awful.
You know, just like me doing it on my free time, and just like, you know, I just enjoy headphones. I enjoy talking to people.
Terren's paying you for this, right? Terren's paying you for this podcast, right?
No.
Okay. That's
you know, sure. There's times where I, you know, from the face-to-face interactions, you know, just like looking back, you remember, or at least I'm remembering the good times. I'm not remembering all those like times that people would come to the store, listen to a whole bunch of stuff, and I just see them like looking on their phone to find it used, right? And it's like, okay, thanks for the demo, and leave the store, and then like a week later, oh yeah, I got it. It's like, oh yes, you used me for the demo.
Yeah, thanks a lot, fucker.
Right. And that happened all the time. But there were times where, like, you know, I made a few decent friends at the source by doing it in person, because it's like, you know, I'd find someone that would be really interested in, like, you know, one of my good friends, I let him hear my HE6, and then he fell down the HE6 rabbit hole kind of deal, right?
Of all That's awful. Why would you ever put anybody through that?
You know, the 4 screw, the 6 screw, the SEs, the SE, V2s, right? All the different versions, right?
Obviously, the 4 screw version is the best.
Yeah, but then also like, oh, well, what pad should I use it with? Oh, no,
no.
So I think, you know,
okay,
I enjoy those kind of deals where someone's meeting me at like an equal level, where it's not like an uneven relationship. Like, what happens sometimes where people at the source kind of like, I feel kind of took it a bit too far, where, you know, you're my customer, but I'm trying to help you make a sale, and you're acting really buddy to me, but then I'm not giving you the price you want, and now you're going to hold that against me, right? And it's just like, it's an uneven relationship right now, where I just like, I'm just trying to help you right now, and you're just trying to take advantage of me. I don't know. There are situations like that came up all the time.
I mean, like, feel weird, right? Because I actually bought something from you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because like, so I the reason I bought it from you, from TSAV, instead of from China, is because that the Chinese margin were awful.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told that the American margin are better. And honestly, I at the time I didn't tell you this. Like, I was kind of disappointed that the price you gave me was pretty much literally the same as the price that my Chinese dealer gave me, which is obviously a lot better friend than you are to me, right? Because I knew him for like a long time, and I bought a lot of things from him, right? I bought my VX from him, I bought my Z1R from him, and he literally showed me the papers like, hey, this is my margin, I have to make money from you, so like, the best I can give you is this, because I gotta make a few $100s from you, like 300 yuan, like not even dollars, right? I gotta make like at least $50 from you, right? I gotta pay fucking rent. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But he's like, and he literally showed me the sheets. I'm like, oh, that's fucking awful margin. He's like, yeah, but you know, if you want to go to the state, he literally told me, right? Hey, you know what? Don't buy AK from me. Because like, we get awful margins here in China. And AKs are extremely expensive in China. Buy it from the States. And I went and asked you, and he literally gave me the same price. I'm like, wow, okay. I know where our friendship stands. But then again, when I look back into it, right? When I look back to it, it's like, well, you know, I want you to, you know, from a fellow weeaboo, I want you to buy your weeaboo stuff with the money that you made from me, right? I don't feel too bad about it. It's not a bad deal, right? It's, honestly, whatever you gave me is not a bad deal. But like I feel like being friends with a like you or anybody else who's into audio, I feel like it's weird because like they want to be friends with you, but they don't want you to eat.
There were definitely people that
like you can make money, but just not from me. I'm like, well, I mean, you're his friend, right? So just let him eat, bro.
like people, you know, how should I put this?
In a good way.
Like there are people that are 100% dedicated in getting the deal, and they're only seeing it from their perspective, right?
Right.
They're not seeing it from the dealer's perspective of the fact that like, okay, well, the dealer has his margins, his costs, his blah blah blah, and his commission he's paying to whatever his staff, right? So when I was at the source, I was a commission. I'm not on commission anymore at headphones.com.
Okay, I didn't know why you want to say that.
But like, you know, there was a financial incentive for me at the source to, you know, maximize profit, even if I was, say, giving a deal in that sense.
So you're saying if I want to buy a ConQ from you right now, you would give me a better deal?
I don't know. I don't even know like what's happened with margins. Just because, you know, what's happened in the last year especially, everything's gotten more expensive.
Hey, don't say that. Where's my free ADX 5000, man?
Yeah.
That was a long-running joke. That joke predates your employment
I know.
at headphones.com.
I've seen you.
Okay. So I think we have gone on long enough, and I'll last question. Well, maybe second to last question. I have $1,000 to spend. I want to buy a headphone system. I have nothing. What do I buy from headphones.com? Amp DAC headphones, $1,000, MSRP. Go look on your sites right now. Salesman test. Oh, that's awful. Sorry, $1,500. My bad. $1,000 doesn't buy you anything. I know. I'm sorry. That was a tough question. $1,000 was a tough question. And he frantically pulled up headphones.com's website looking at the headphones, and he realized he doesn't really sell any $1,000 headphones.
You know, if I'm going like,
if I'm a filthy weeaboo, there you go. Even better.
well, if I'm just like in general giving like probably a recommendation, and just trying to be real safe about it all, probably like the Focal Clear.
That's not $1,500 at all. That's literally taking up. That's all their budget.
No, it's $990.
Wait, what? The Clear's $900 now?
$990 exclusive at headphones.com.
Buy yours now at headphones.com.
So Focal Clear, $990, and then probably the IFI Zendac V2 Zencan.
Okay, first of all, Seb does not sponsor the show. You are not allowed to mention IFI products.
I mean, like the reason I brought up IFI and Focal, like the Clears, they're very safe sound.
You can't say Clear, you just can't say IFI.
Then Ananda.
Try again. Sorry, try again. You can say Focal, you just can't say IFI. Try again.
Get a topping L30E30 stack there,
fine,
buddies.
Fine. Okay, never mind. Get the IFIs in deck. My bad.
Cool.
Okay, last question. Favorite anime of all time?
Bakemonogatari.
There you go. There you have it. This is Alan's from headphones.com, and you will never come on the show ever again. I mean, if you want to, I'm not excluding you.
Yeah,
Taryn will never let you on the show ever again.
For sure.
All right, good night.
All right. Peace out, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, that's the end of the stream.
Cool.
All right.